Welcome everyone to podcast episode number 13. We have a few people here to talk about the latest news in DDO. I think first we'll start by just going around the table, having the guests introduce themselves. Nomad, you want to go first? Although if anyone listens to this podcast regularly is going to know who you are at this point, but why don't you go ahead anyway?
Yep, Nomad Dog. I stream DDO a couple times a week, usually Wednesdays and Friday nights, and then again on Sunday afternoons at 2 p.m. Eastern on DDO stream. Um, yeah, I've been playing the game since shortly after it went free to play in 2009, and so looking forward to another one of these.
Trying.
So I'm trying. I also stream predominantly DDO. DDO nights are Tuesdays and Thursdays in the evenings on East Coast time. I occasionally will pop in with a different game on an unscheduled stream, but that's not particularly relevant to this podcast, as this podcast is DDO centric.
Yeah, and thank you guys for being here as always. All right, first topic of the day. We have the new VIP rewards for year 2 were announced. So just like year 1, these are monthly rewards for being VIP that you can claim from an NPC and all the heroes each month. You do need to log in and claim these. These rewards stack with everything. If you let VIP lapse, then you'll continue where you left off. So if you stop, you'll have to start with year 1. Say if you've never been VIP, you'll have to work your way through year 1. So really, only people who will be getting at least the year 2 rewards for now, I mean immediately, are be the people who have been VIP and have already worked through the whole year 1, the year 1 stuff. So I thought we would go through each of these, even though there's not much changes from year 1. I thought we would go through, and I'll just mention what the rewards are. So month 13, 500 DDO store points. 14th month, there's VIP bag of many things, and that's the same as last year, except they added a few things. They added 3 Jeweler's Toolkits, 3 Sentient Toolkits, and 5 Greater Slayer Boost Potions as an option, but you also have the option from last year of Ethereal Restaurant, Statuette, Flawless Severi's Dragon Shard, 5,000 Sentient XP, 80 Glamour Dust, that did go up from 50, Mirror of Glamoring, 2,500 Omnispell Dust, and a raid bypass timer, either the regular one or the legendary one. So they did make some changes there, and I know retroactively they're changing the bag of many things. So if you haven't opened one previously, you'll get the new one. So that's one of the few changes, and you all feel free to pop in if you have anything to say. I've got a little bit to read here, but feel free to pop in. 15th month, we got +1 character slots. 16th month, durability ward 10%, which stacks with the one previously. 17th month, and these are all so far, these are all the same except the small changes they made to the bag of many things. 17th month, +5 storage slots. This, however, is different. This is the only month other than cosmetics that changed from last year. This 17th month is 5 bonus account storage slots, and year 1 was a bag of many things. 18th month, there's a red dragon cosmetic armor, which is just and I looked and I was looking through the prior rewards, and what they did was this is the year of the dragon prismatic armor except red instead of green. And 19th month, VIP artisan advantage, 10% to VIP crafting XP. 20th month, greater bag of many things. So this is the same as last year. The big one you have your choice of heroic, true heart of wood, True Heart of Blood, Epic Heart of Wood, Iconic True Heart of Wood, +20 Lesser Heart of Wood, which is what I imagine most people will choose. But you also have the option of an extended VIP Elixir of Discovery that lasts 12 hours, so that ups your drop rate for 12 hours. And VIP Sovereign 3 Experience Elixir of 50% XP that lasts for 12 hours. I've seen some people grab those. And then for the last few months, we got 21st month VIP Discovery Boost, and this is a +1% to your drop rate, which stacks from last year's. And then 22nd month, 5 bonus account storage slots. 23rd month, bag of many things, another one. Then 24th month, there's a red guard Drake mount, which I looked at this, and I was looking at it. It looks like it's just the Astral Traveler's Drake with the armor removed, basically. So it's just a kind of a cosmetic alteration. But what do you guys think about the year 2? I'll let you guys speak before I give my opinion on it.
Well, it's basically it's nothing game breaking until, of course, we get to year 10 and we have 100% durability ward, which will be nice
Yeah.
as it all stacks
Yeah,
10% every year.
that's true if they
But
keep going.
uh, it's nice that they're putting in some effort to give something, but it's mostly just a lot of like nice to have convenience things, which I'm kind of fine with. Like the reason I maintain VIP is a lot of different convenience things, just access to everything. So getting something else on top is nice.
And Nomad, what do you think about the
Yeah.
rewards? Have you been?
Um,
And have you guys been VIP? Are you like on the year 2 track?
Yeah, I claimed mine yesterday and I got the 14th month reward. I got the bag of many things yesterday, so
Okay, so you're probably 1 month or 2 month behind, I think, because the Storm Cloud mount just came out. I know it's the new one for this year, right? Or for this
okay.
month. Yeah. So
yeah, the Stormcloud mount is the most recent one. If you've been VIP since the program was introduced.
I mean, I have, but I might have like forgotten to claim 1 month, like
probably,
if I
and
didn't
that's
log on
yeah,
for a while.
that's the thing with the program. It's you you have to log in and claim it. If you don't claim it by the date, then you basically you're put back a month behind everyone else, pretty much. You still get your rewards. It's just you get the one that you haven't claimed yet, and then next month you get the next one.
Mm.
Yeah, my opinion has not changed since last year. I maintain VIP because I like all of the perks that we had before the loyalty program was introduced. It is nice to have all of the extras that have come along. Um, but if I was not VIP, there is nothing that they have offered last year or this year that would make me decide, hey, that's really cool. I want to become VIP. Right. I understand it is a loyalty program. So you're, rewarding those who remain VIP for a long period of time. But there's nothing in there that would entice new people to decide to become VIP, in my opinion. Um, and honestly, I think this year they were a little lazy because it's the majority of the same things, and even the cosmetics are not new. They're just reskins of things that already existed, right? At least the Stormcloud mount um, has a different look to it. It's basically a reskinned flying carpet. Um, but that and the Lightning Trail, the two cosmetics we got this year, those are unique and different than anything else that we've had. Um, but now it's like everyone's got a Drake mount already. If you did Year of the Dragon, um, and now you took an existing Drake, took the armor off, which actually, in my opinion, makes it look better than the Astro Coffer was. Um, but yeah, I mean that's basically for me what it comes down to. There's not enough there to entice me to become VIP. And sure, it's nice. Again, crafting XP, once you get to a certain point, what's the point, right? Durability ward, most things don't get damaged nearly as much, especially when you get, your named gear that doesn't really take damage. Right. So my opinion hasn't really changed over the last year or so.
Yeah, I previously, when this came out last year, I mean, my initial reaction was I had really low expectations because for me, I sub to VIP because I want the XP boost, the saga skip, and the elite open for new characters or for when I go to another server, whatever. Or when, yeah, and so that plus, I guess, getting the new adventure packs, which I haven't had to pay for, which is nice. But that's the main things I would say and for the bonus weekends. That's really the main things I sub to VIP for. So last year when this came out, I had a very low expectation. I was like, okay, I'll take whatever. But this year, I still have that belief. However, even though I have low expectations, this did manage to still not meet my low expectations because I think it is really lazy. I mean, there's nothing else to say about it. I mean, they're all exactly the same except for 1 month. And the fact that they couldn't be bothered to do new cosmetics is, and they did release pictures, and I will say disclaimer, they aren't, they may still tweak them. They're not completely finished, but basically to take just a coffer mount. I mean, especially the mount. To just take the mount and just take the armor off. I mean, you couldn't do a brand new cosmetic. I mean, year one we got the Storm Cloud and the Lightning Trail, which are new, and I know the Storm Cloud, I guess, is a reskinned flying carpet, but you could never tell. I mean, it looks really cool. It came out yesterday. They did a really good job on that. You can see the little lightning effects. It's really cool. But for this year, I just couldn't believe they went that lazy on the cosmetics. I mean, I don't, maybe that's too harsh of a word, but they're offering really cool cosmetics for all these coffers, and they couldn't do that for VIP. It's just it's not good. I think it's really underwhelming, and I think they should put more effort into the cosmetics, especially the mount. But that's my opinion.
As much as I like the mount, I do have some small qualms about it. Even when you're completely zoomed out and you're on the cloud, if you're like going down a hill or downstairs, that trailing uh, cloud that comes out the back as you're moving forward, like obscures all your vision, even when you're zoomed all the way out. That's one of the complaints that I have about it. That and trying to figure out which one of the mounts in my stable was actually the storm cloud took some time because there's a
Yeah,
horse head icon
they didn't
rather
change
than a
the
storm
icon.
cloud.
I know.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
and so I'm like, which one is it? I had to mouse over each one of my, like, did I get it? Did I not get it? And mouse over each of my things until I found out that it is the horse head that looks exactly like the academic steed. So I'm like, oh, okay,
yeah.
that's
I don't
makes
know.
sense.
I guess I think sometimes they just forget to change the icon. I know one that it's kind of a not a huge deal, but it just annoys me is they never updated the icon on the VIP instant travel for Vecna Unleashed. They never added an icon for that. Uh, they just have the Isle of Dread one there. That kind of annoys me. But sometimes, yeah, they do just, I guess they just forget, or they have their due dates and they have to release it by the due date. And that's maybe
Yeah,
last on their priority list because it's not game breaking.
there's been a lot of that over
Yeah.
the years, especially like when they redid the Destiny trees and whatnot. There's been a great number of uh, we'll say icons not matching abilities as things have switched around. As for the just overall cosmetics, I'm not really a cosmetics sort of person, so I don't have the same sort of negative reaction to like, oh, these are
Yeah.
lazy because I'll probably never use them in the first place, so it just doesn't
Yeah.
hit that way for me. But I can see how if you were hoping for something, that the fact that it's reskins could just be a turn off. And I will agree, of course, that there's nothing in here that would really compel me to want to be VIP. I think we're all pretty much in the same boat that we these are not the reasons that we maintain VIP. They're just kind of a bonus,
Hmm.
and it's not a huge bonus. It's just like some nice to have stuff.
Yeah, and that's the thing with me. I do see it as a bonus, but still, I mean, is it that much work to put a little more effort into the cosmetics so it doesn't look like you just took the armor off the Astral Coffer Drake? I mean, they could have done something to dress it up a little bit more. And to their credit, it may not be done. We got a picture of it. I mean, they may still be tweaking it, but I just think they should do a little bit more because you shouldn't. Obviously reskinning things is going to happen. That's just part of you can't you're gonna have to reuse assets. It's just the reality. But you should always put at least make it trick us, do a better job at tricking us into thinking that's not so reskinned, because maybe the storm cloud is a reskinned carpet, I don't know, but it sure doesn't look like it to me. I would never think that when I saw that mount.
Yeah, I don't think reskin is probably
Yeah,
correct. In like if we're talking,
well,
oh, it
it's
acts the
probably,
same way. Like
well,
all the
like it,
mounts are
yeah.
reskins, but
I
like
mean reskin in that they probably started with that as a base and then tweaked it, is what I
yeah,
would
which I
guess,
think is
which is
different than
fine. That's
say
what they
as we were
need to
talking
do.
about the armor, which is a palette swap.
Yeah, well,
It's the
like
same model in a different color.
with the Drake, just instead of having another Drake, at least make it a different kind of dragon, like a different
Maybe
color
different
dragon.
horns,
Yeah, different
something.
horns, just things like that. Instead of just only changing one thing or just changing the color, like mix it up a little bit. And I wonder how much of this is SSG not wanting to put super special things onto year two? Because let's say they put at the end of year two, they put an owlbear mount. Let's just say they didn't do that, but let's just say, for example, how many people are going to see that and be like, oh, I want the owlbear mount. Oh, I got to wait 2 years and pay VIP for 2 years. Maybe they don't want to backload stuff. That's the only other thing I'm wondering if it might come up in conversation there at SSG.
And part of it is also, resources in terms of people who are available to do
Yeah.
this, because we know the original VIP loyalty program got delayed because when Humble Fryer passed away, right, he was working on that, and so that got pushed back. So it was supposed to come out sooner, but they had to, shift resources to be able to do it. They're working on uh, a new expansion, right? You only have so many people available to do so much, and are you going to dedicate one person to working on this? So it's not an excuse, but I was hoping to see at least a few different things than what we got. Um, at least change it up a little bit, rather than just kind of copy paste and here's what you get.
Yeah, if the Lamortia expansion is really good and it has 2 raids and like 12 to 14 quests, then oh yeah, I'd forgive him for that. But I would say last year though they did have a full expansion plus all the Year of the Dragon stuff plus all the VIP stuff. And they managed to do all that, so I'm not sure, what's different this year. But maybe I'm being too negative. But I saw it and I'm like, they didn't even they could have even mixed up some of the months with some new rewards, even the non-cosmetic stuff, but they didn't. It's just the exact same thing. I thought they should have mixed it up more. Is all. It's just even if I don't care that much personally, it's just it gives a bad impression to VIPs. It kind of it makes it look like SSG doesn't care about their long-term VIPs as much maybe as they should. I'm not saying they don't care. I'm just saying it might give that impression.
I can see that. Even if like it's still the same level of rewards, like instead of another 5 shared account storage, they swapped it for 10 bank storage that you could use on any character. Like
Yeah,
just making it different, kind of for the sake of difference, to show that they thought about it instead of copy pasting.
right, right. Or even 1 month, maybe it's, I mean, I don't know, just really anything. You get, I don't know, shoot, I don't know. Really, it could be more XP elixirs. I don't know. I mean, they have their bag of many things, but just something different other than just keep the same formula. But well, we talked about the Stormcloud mount a little bit. So you had a chance to look at it. I thought it looked really cool, and I do think it's probably the best. It might be the best mount in the game right now in terms of looks, prettiest, I think. Do y'all have any thoughts on that? I mean, we talked about it a little bit, I guess, but it was the next thing on my list.
Well, I don't have it yet, so I haven't really
Yeah,
seen
you don't
it
have it
about.
yet. Yeah.
It's okay. It's all right. I switch up my mounts all the time, so depends on what my feeling is that particular day of which mount I might ride.
Yeah, I like
I
the.
tend to,
Go ahead.
yeah, I tend to prioritize based on how I earned things. In this case, like I prioritize the like mounts I got from hardcore, like I got the dragon footprints from Year of the Dragon, but I used the bloody footprints because that was the 5k favor grind on hardcore, the one time that I did it.
Yeah.
So, um, and they look cool too. So I don't really swap mounts as much because I have more connection to stuff I think I've put in more to earn than necessarily the cosmetic of it.
I really like the hovering mounts because they don't make the galloping noise. So I was pretty pumped about it, and I would love to see them like the flying carpet. I would love to see them offer like different colors of that. That would be really neat. For a lot of these cosmetics, I've always wondered why SSG doesn't do this. Why don't they just offer, see, one for VIP or one for expansion, and then put different skins of it in the store? I think that'd be a good way for the game to make money, and it wouldn't be too much effort just to turn the flying carpet from red to green or red to blue or purple or whatever. I always wondered why they didn't do more of that. Well, anything else you guys have to say on the VIP or the any of the rewards program Okay. We'll move on then to Cormier. So Cormier is opening to everyone. This week there was a post by Cordovan. He said that Cormier is our 64-bit game world that recently concluded its Lanterns in the Mist event. And during that time, we opened Cormier to everyone for a while. We are happy to announce that starting on Wednesday, April 30th, Cormier, which is past now, Cormier will open permanently for access to all players. We are also making Cormier our recommended world for new installations of DDO. All of our characters, all the characters you already have in Cormier are there. In the future, we intend to offer transfers to and from Cormier once our updated character transfer technology is ready to go. Expect more information soon about our new worlds in the United States and Europe and our plans for transfers to these worlds from our 32-bit game worlds. For our VIPs who have come to call Cormier home, okay, so they offered a promotion to VIP, which goes through July 6th. Which is plus 5% VIP XP in addition to the 10% they get already, and once per day daily dice rolls, gold rolls on Cormier only. And then Cordovan then just said they'll share more information about the 64-bit game world soon. So this is kind of interesting, the little saga here. So the server, for anyone who's listening doesn't know, the server was originally VIP only, and then it went free to all from January 22nd through April 15th. And the point of that was to have this Lanterns in the Mist hardcore-like event. And they did that, and very shortly after 4/15, so this post by Cordovan, did I write down I'm not sure if I wrote down the date, but it would have been just a few weeks after it reverted back to VIP only. They announced it would go free permanently. So pretty soon after it went back to VIP only, they made the decision that, we need to make this free. Maybe, I don't know what drove that. Maybe that was their plan the whole time. Maybe they've been thinking about it for a while. Maybe they saw the population dip quite a lot and decided they needed to make this free only. I don't know. But in any case, it's now going to be free only, not a VIP only server going forward, just like the other 64-bit servers that will be coming soon. So what do y'all think about Cormier? Have you all been playing on Cormier at all? Have you been playing over there?
I started on Cormier a bit, didn't get too far, so I don't have a lot of experience with it. That said, the timeline is kind of odd because, as you mentioned, it's pretty clearly that this was a testing rollout for the 64-bit thing. That's why it wasn't free to start with. That part makes sense to me. They get through the little pilot period for like the month or two that it was open to VIP only, and they're like, okay, let's open the gates, let's let everyone hit it. The weird thing to me is the 2-week gap where they went back to VIP only. It's like, you'd think that when they got to, what is this, April 15th or whatnot, and it's like, okay, we've had it open to everyone for like 3 months. You'd think by that time they would have decided whether or not they were going to go that permanently or VIP only.
Yeah.
Like the going back to VIP for 2 weeks and being like, okay, now it's open to everyone permanently. Like the timing's a little weird, but I think it is pretty clear that this was very much a test run for 64-bit servers to start with. And It appears that the test has been wildly successful.
Yeah, so clearly, I mean, they were pretty clear about this. The intention initially for it to be VIP only was not necessarily to monetize the VIP, although that probably was a little bit of it. The main reason was they wanted to limit the population for testing purposes. But clearly, once the free-to-play Lantern event was going all these months, they showed that they could handle that population. And I know there were times where Cormier was acting up in terms of performance, but generally overall they showed that they could handle that level of population. So it was weird to go back. I'm thinking maybe it was marketing reasons. Possibly they wanted to announce that period as, oh, it's only free for a limited time, so come play. Maybe it's just marketing reasons. That's the only thing I can think of. But they probably would have made the decision a while ago to make it free permanently once they showed that they could handle the population. And they were pretty clear when they announced that it seemed initially, they never committed to that, but that was what they've been hinting at, is that eventually it would be VIP free to everyone anyway.
Yeah, there was a lot of, if I remember the messaging, there was a lot of like at least sort of language. It's like, it's going to be open for at least this amount of time, or the Lantern event like when they first announced the Lantern event, it didn't have an end date. They were like, it'll run through at least this period. We haven't decided on whether it'll end then or whether it'll extend further. But they haven't given that many firm end dates. And I think that's kind of a good thing to guarantee at least a duration. Because there's like, we might extend it, we might not, but you're going to get it at least through here. And if it's going well, we'll keep it rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the initial rollout was kind of a mess. Day one was a mess. They got it figured out pretty quickly, which was good. Because there were some people who weren't VIP who were able to access it. Then there were some people who were VIP who weren't able to access it. But we in the long run, it ended up working out. The introduction of the new technology to be able to find issues in the game that they have, the new development tools that they have available with the 64-bit servers shows that they've made vast improvements, and that could filter down to the 32-bit worlds. Was great. The big thing though, I ground out the mount, right? So I did the mount, and then just before the event ended, I finished off one of the other cosmetics. So I've ended up finishing two of them. It wasn't my primary server. I went over there and would play occasionally. And so I think it was from October to February. It was VIP only. And so I could be wrong on when it went free to play, but I think it was open or free to play. But I think it was about
It went
2
free
months.
on January 22nd, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So there was
close
about
to the start of February.
yeah. Initially, I was like, well, okay. So I spent all this time grinding this out, and now it's open to everybody, right? Again, it's going back to that VIP mentality of I have something available to me that not everybody has access to as a VIP. And then all of a sudden everyone has the ability to do it, which I don't have a problem with because it did raise the population on there. But I do agree, it's really interesting. Why did they decide to go back to VIP for 2 weeks? Because the population was already starting to taper off because people were treating it like a hardcore season. Because with hardcore, we all know that population is big in the beginning, and
Mm-hmm.
once people start getting their cosmetics and everything for the season, then it starts to taper off. A lot of people are already getting what they wanted. Like I got my mount, and I basically quit playing on Cormier until about 2 weeks left, and then I decided to go back and finish off another lantern. Um, and so the population was already starting to drop off. But then you go back to VIP, which limits your population even further, right? And I think that might be part of the reason why they thought we'll keep this VIP for a while until we roll out the other 64-bit servers. But I think when they saw that the population was dropping, and it's like, can we justify the cost for this new technology and this new hardware and everything? Because that's something that everyone has talked about. How expensive it is for them to roll out these new 64-bit servers. It's not cheap because you're talking new hardware, um, you're talking new data center, and all of that. So I think part of it was they're like, we don't want a VIP Wayfinder, and
Mm-hmm.
so let's just open it back up. And I'm hoping that within the next 2 months we'll get the 64-bit servers. Um, yeah, if they're true to their word on the roadmap and staying for the 2 months or end of second quarter. But yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with it going back to free to play. I just don't know how many people are going to move over there right now
Yeah,
because you can't transfer anything.
yeah, I think in Cult of the Ocelot in chat mentioned this as well. What I was about to say, but I think the bottom line is until they get the transfers up and running, it's never going to compare to the 32-bit worlds because no one's going to abandon their character with 50 past lives and all that work, decade of work, and all their stuff to go play on. Even if the 64-bit server is better, the only people who are really going to start fresh over there. I mean, some will, but people who really it's going to be new players or people who maybe don't really have a lot invested in the game, maybe just play every once in a while, maybe one to do that. But yeah, bottom line is until the transfers happen, it's not gonna ever compare to the population of the other servers. I don't think.
Yeah, what they will need is mass free transfers.
And they're gonna
Because
do
if I
that.
wanted to
Yeah,
move, it's not just my main character who has 100 lives, 150 lives. I don't know. It's a lot of lives.
yeah,
Because sure, that's the character with all the past lives, but I've got like 4 or 5 different bank characters who are holding
yeah.
the bound to account gear. And sure, my main character has everything they need for their current build, but if I want to go to a completely different archetype, like I'm currently an Inquisitive, I have ranged gear, I have ranged power gear. If I want to go to a DC caster or a nuker or a melee character, like all that gear is on other characters. So the past lives aren't as useful if you don't have the gear for them. And so if I move to a 64-bit server, it's going to be not one character, but more like 6.
Yeah,
And I think I'm the only one in that position.
yeah, that's true. I mean, I assume, and we'll see with the 64-bit stuff, it should be coming out soon. I mean, I know that for Lotro, I wish I would have written down the date, but I think Lotro is, let's see,
I think you said March 4th,
I'm not. Yeah,
March
Lotro.
2nd.
Okay, actually, I wrote it down. It's on my notes. Yeah, here. Lotro debuted, and then we can just hop into this. But yeah, Lotro debuted this. It's 4 new. Okay, I can't talk today. Let me start over. Lotro debuted 4 new 64-bit servers on March 7th, and so DDO should not be long behind. It should be. They haven't set a date, but I'm thinking really any time now. Next month, month after, maybe June. We'll see, and it'll be interesting. So for anyone who doesn't know, just DDO currently functions on 32-bit world. So Cormier and all these new ones are going to be 64-bit. So what that means essentially is they're stronger, more power, which means you're going to have less lag, less performance problems. They can support more players at once. So that's why this is a big deal. So I know Lotro got 4. How many servers do you guys think DDO is going to end up having? Because I know we're going to have 1 in Europe, and we have Cormier already in the US. I'm thinking probably 4, but it could be 3. I'm thinking there's going to be at least 1 more US server. But it could be 3, 1 in Europe, 2 and that's what I hope. I hope it's 3, 2 in America, 1 in Europe, but it could be 4.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be because people have been talking for years about like low population and wanting server merges, and the counter complaint every time is like, we have enough lag as it is. I know particularly certain, I think Sarlona and Orion people tend to complain the most about lag because they have the most people. But
Yeah,
so it's like
Orion
we should merge
especially.
servers so we have higher population, and it's like, but we can't handle the populations we have. So I think that the 64-bit servers are going to be the de facto server merges. In that,
Hmm.
as you said, 3 or 4. That sounds about right to me. It definitely will be fewer servers than we have 32-bit because I think it's going to attempt to condense the population onto them, or attempt to at least.
Well, I was looking at it, since Lotro has 4. I mean, DDO has quite a bit less players than Lotro, but I don't. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's not more resource intensive. I don't know because I don't play Lotro, but maybe DDO is more harder in the servers for whatever reason. But I'm thinking more 3 now since Lotro has 4. You wouldn't think DDO would need as much.
Yeah. So for the longest time, I thought Cormier was going to stay like a special event server, right? It's kind of what I was thinking it was going to end up being, kind of like a hardcore server. If they ever decide to go back to the traditional hardcore type of event, but when they announced, and so that being said, I figured we would have 2 additional North American servers and 1 EU server. So I was leaning towards 4.
Mhm.
But now that they've opened up Cormier in the future to be a just regular, 64-bit server with access to and from, transfers on and off, um, I really do think we're going to end up with 1 additional North American server and then the EU server. And then my big question will be is how populated is that EU server going to be? Because I know, Axel, some of the people in your
Hmm.
Discord and some of the other people that I've talked to, um, just in general, a lot of the EU player, well, not a lot, I'd say enough of the EU players would prefer to come to a North American server to play with all the people that they've played with over the last, 10, 15 years, as opposed to moving to an EU only server, because it's not the same people that they've played with over time, right? So I think, how many people are actually going to move over to the EU server? Is there enough of a population to make an EU server itself viable?
Right. I'm sure it's not the case for most, but there are some EU players that I play with who've already told me they're going to go to the North American server because that's where, all the raiding groups are, and it's where all of us are going to train. All of us that lead raids and lead events and things are going to go to. So we'll see. I hope the European server does well, though. It's not. That's the other thing. Getting into just I've always wondered like how is this going to work because they're giving us. I always thought long ago like if they did transfers, that they would say take let's say Orion and Wayfinder, you're going to this server, but they're going to give us all the choice with transfers. So what are they going to do? Because we saw this with Orion when there was that free transfer period during hardcore when Orion ended up getting a lot more population. What are they going to do if all the players come together and say, okay, all the US players, all the streamers, everyone who has a guild, like all the notable guilds, we all say, okay, we're all going to Cormier. Let's just say if there's Cormier and one other server open, what are they going to do to balance that? I suppose they could make the other server the default, but what are they gonna do about that? Because I think we're gonna see a very lopsided because the community is pretty tight knit and talks to each other. I think we're gonna see a pretty most vast majority of players want to go to where everyone else is going. The only exception to that is I know talked to some of the float who's part of some of the high skull rating guilds. They want to go to the least populated one just because to reduce any possibility of lag or whatever performance issues. But yeah, I've just what do you guys think about that? Because I don't know what they can do about that. I think we're going to see if this just goes towards open transfers. I think we're going to see lopsided populations.
I think that's pretty likely because one of the things that I enjoy about, well, as a side effect of the lower population is that when I'm playing, we're like just joining random open groups, or if I put up a group and people join it, there's a lot of names I recognize from other people on Caneth. Like I can I can look at a party list and kind of know the relative strength level of that party just on the names. Even if they're on a different life, even they're on a different build. I know that, okay, this player, I've seen them around, they usually have pretty strong builds or whatnot. So that level of familiarity with the general population of my server is one of the things I enjoy. So I would definitely want to say like, all right, if most people on Caneth are going to go to, we'll say not Cormier or whatever the second one is, then that's probably where I would go. Also, like my brother plays the game as well, and if I'm transferring or he's transferring, we're probably going to go to the same place. So I don't know necessarily if if they go full open, like how lopsided it'll be. It might end up, as you said, the community is pretty tight knit. That mapping of like, okay, these two servers are going here, these two are going here, these two are going here. That might happen just based on, we'll say, community coordination. Like it's like, oh look, it looks like everyone on Sorlona is going to Cormier. That's going to be a lot of people. Maybe Wayfinder and Orion want to go to not Cormier.
Yeah, well, the thing is,
So
they're going to keep the 32-bit servers open, right? As of
they are,
now,
yeah.
so they're not going to. They're going to be transfers, not like a forced merger. So yeah, so
Not a
people.
forced merger yet.
Yeah, but maybe they could say if you want to transfer, you have to transfer to here. But I've not seen
Yeah.
any indication from them that they're going to do that. I think they're going. I think it's just going to be open. I wish I knew how it worked in Lotro. Do either of you happen to know how it worked in Lotro? If you just had the choice, or if you go to either,
No,
I'm not
I
sure.
played it briefly, but it didn't catch for me.
Yeah, I wonder if there's going to be maybe they'll implement a cap. And this is just speculation. Maybe a cap once a certain number of servers transfer to the server, you have to go to the other one. I don't think they would want to do that, but it's I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I know they've talked about in theory how the 64-bit worlds can handle multiple thousands of players. So maybe it's not even an issue really. Maybe the 64-bit servers can handle it. It's hard to say.
Yeah,
We
Yeah.
need an engineer from SSG to be here.
it's
Well,
important to note for those who are not familiar with like the bit terminology. 64-bit isn't twice as much as 32-bit. It is substantially larger. Twice as
Yeah,
many bits isn't twice as much space. It's way more space.
and call it.
yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say if we had Druid's Fire here, she'd be able to give us the entire rundown on how the transfers worked.
Oh yeah, and
Um,
she wanted to make it, but she couldn't.
yeah. No, it's from all my conversations with the folks that I've talked to on different servers, some of the other streamers I've talked to. Uh, from what I've been hearing, a lot of people are looking to move just to a new, not previously populated server. So, in other words, not Cormier. Um, there are some people who have already set up home on Cormier. Mary is probably the biggest one who has established a home on Cormier, and that is now the home for his guild. Um, and so from what I've heard, a lot of people are looking just, it's a fresh start, um, but not a start over, if that makes sense, right? We're not starting all new tunes like we had to on Cormier. Um, so we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, I was always wondering, are they going to make it where, you know, Kenneth, Orion, uh, and maybe Wayfinder have to go to one server. Sarlona, Galanda, and Thalanis go to another server, right? To kind of balance out the population. Because, I'm also on Kenneth, and that server free transfer that they gave, I mean, we lost a couple of the bigger raiding guilds, ended up going over to Orion, which kind of took out a lot of the raiding population that we had. So if you wanted to catch a raid, it's now okay. What random pug raid can we grab? Because there's not a whole lot of guilds that actually lead raids on Canna. So it'll be interesting to see. And yeah, they got to get the transfer stuff together for us though, because
And I hope the
God,
answer is just the 64-bit servers can handle, even if it's lopsided, the 64-bit servers can handle it. And I hope that's the answer. I hope they've
On the
optimized
technical side of things, yeah, but there are like social and gameplay reasons why even if they can handle the higher load that they don't want as I think you mentioned earlier a 64-bit wayfinder. Like
Hmm.
there are other reasons besides technical capacity that they wouldn't want it super lopsided.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I'm thinking maybe less servers if they can handle it. Because I mean, if there is a lot, if the one server can handle that much population, and we have another server with it is becoming a wayfinder. Well, maybe they can just get those players over to the other 64-bit server. But
And maybe it's relative. Maybe
yeah,
64-bit wayfinder is just like it's two of the 32-bit servers combined instead of four.
yeah,
Like,
and that would be a lot better. It wouldn't be a problem as long as people can
yeah.
get groups.
I'm going to throw this wild idea out there. I know it probably won't grab traction, but just keep transfers free.
Yes, please. I've said that. I've said that for a long time as well. They should be free. I really
Maybe
wish that we could just like, oh, this guild is having an event on Sarlona. Oh, I'll just transfer a character over there for the weekend and then I'll transfer it back. I wish we could do that in TDO. And the
I
reason
don't
the it would be so cool if we could.
I don't know about going that far, but I can definitely see something like a cap on it, like one free transfer a month
Yeah, yeah.
or
That would
something
be
like that.
fine
So you're not
too.
just like bouncing for a weekend, but if like it's like, I really wish I've got like these two characters on the server. I want to join whatever pug raids on this other server that someone is leading. I want to be able to throw a character over there. And it's like, sure, toss one over.
Hmm.
Like I can definitely see. I think that's more likely than just unlimited. Let me like mass move people around all over the place.
Yeah, that would be totally reasonable. Yeah, that would be perfectly fine.
And one thing I know that some other games have is cross server playing, right? Where you're on one server and but everything is kind of joined. So regardless of what server you log into, you can like be on Thelanis, but still raid with someone on Sarlona,
Hmm.
right? Because of how the technology is set up. I don't think DDO is set up in that way, or if it would even be a small lift
They've
to
talked
do
about
that.
that before. They've been
But
asked that
it,
before, and yeah,
yeah,
my understanding is DDO is just not capable of that. It's just not set up that way. So don't mean
It
to
doesn't
interrupt you
surprise
there.
me given the age.
Yeah. Well, as far as transfers, for anyone who doesn't know, they are planning as of now. They've been a little vague, but the intention from them is that everything can transfer. Now, I know there was a comment by Cordovan late on Fridays at 4 that made it. He didn't say Astral Shards would not transfer or would transfer. He just didn't really answer if they would. So it's possible that I think Astral Shards will, but it's possible Astral Shards won't. I know there was a little bit of a hiccup in the community when Cordovan made that comment, but I don't think he was committing to not. It's just they don't want to say yet. Is the thing.
Yeah, it's better to say we don't know than to say yes and then it turns out actually no.
Right. Yeah, I would think with Astral Shards they could at least like make a token and turn it into an item or something that you could then redeem on the other server if there's a technical issue with it. I guess we will find out. Well, is there anything else? Oh, and the last thing I wanted to say is, as we said before, the 32-bit servers aren't closing or anything. So but I would imagine at some point they will. But as of now, they're not planning to close them. So, but I'm fully expecting because they don't want because let's think about it. 32-bit servers remain open. They open 4 more servers. We're gonna have like 12 servers. So we don't need to have the players spread over that many servers. So I think at some point SSG is gonna be like, all right, you need to transfer. We're gonna boot you to a server of our choosing. I would expect that at some point, maybe after a year, after these open, something like that. But the clearly the intention is to get all the players over to the new servers eventually.
I think the big thing is with the 32-bit servers, as time goes by, um, like there's people in my guild who haven't played in like a decade, right? We're just too lazy to clear out our guild thing because a lot of those people who are initially in that guild are all in real life friends. And within the last couple of years, we had a handful of them come back after having not played for 9, 10 years. And so the big question is, how long do you keep the 32-bit worlds open to give those players an opportunity to transfer to another one of the 64-bit worlds? Or will there be a time where they just say, you have to move your stuff by this date? If not, all your stuff's gone, right?
Or
So I know,
I don't think they would ever delete because they always
yeah,
want old time players to come back. But I think what they will do is they will just put you over to a 64-bit world and transfer you over. And maybe your characters don't all go to the same one. I don't know, but I think at some point you'll just get moved. You'll be forcibly moved if you don't move. That's probably what's
yeah,
going to happen.
there's a pretty common theme I've noticed, not just like in a particular guild or whatnot, that you'll be in a party with someone, they're like, hey, I just like logged back in. I haven't played in like 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and lots changed, and like that is actually kind of a funny thing about DDO, that there are a lot of people who leave and then come back after an extended period. So
Hmm.
I'm gonna agree with Axel here. I think that they wouldn't say move or your stuff is deleted, but it's like, but that they'll start with like open free transfers, any 64-bit server you want, and all the active people choose where they want to go. And then, a year, 2 years later, they're like, all right, everyone who hasn't moved yet, Canet's going to server 1, Sarlona's going to server 2, Delanis
Hmm.
is going to server 3, and just everything moves.
And Cult of the Ocelot in chat asks, what level of impact, if any, do you think the 64-bit servers will have on the overall game population, whether pulling back old players or bringing in new ones? So this kind of goes along with what we were talking about. But I, I don't know. What do you guys think? You guys think we'll see any movement? It's definitely a good. I think we'll retain more players because we're going to have less of, oh, I don't have anyone to play with. We're going to have a lot more. It's going to be a lot easier to find someone to raid with, someone to quest with, someone to TR with, static groups. So I think it will help retention. I don't know that, oh, DDO is now 64-bit. It's going to be a big thing. They'll pull in new players. I think things that do that are like the free coupon code or a new expansion. But I do think it'll help with retention over time.
So 64-bit itself, I'm going to agree. I don't think that it is a big pull for new players, definitely. Like, new players won't care. Pulling back old players, though, maybe, because one of the biggest complaints over the years about DDO has been performance. So no one cares that it's 32 or 64-bit, but if the pitch is, hey, they moved on to new, like, 64-bit servers, most of the lag is gone, I think we might get some returning old players, but overall, I think the impact will be minimal. I think it's going to be good for retention. I think it's going to be better quality for the existing players, but I think almost no impact on recruiting new players, with potentially a mild to moderate impact on getting some returning players back if the performance was the main thing that had them stop.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there's other ways that you're going to get new players in. We're going to touch on one of them that happened this week that's a much better way to bring new players in versus just saying, hey, by the way, we got these new shiny worlds. So, yeah, but I do agree. It's going to retain players, new population, being forced to Cormier. Okay, well, not forced, but the recommended world is going to be Cormier. Let's put them on our new server. Is a good idea, especially now that they have it available to everybody. But yeah, in terms of new players, I don't see it being that big of an impact.
All right. Well, anything else you guys want to say on the 64-bit servers before we go on? I was going to go to the quest next. All right. Well, let's move on to the quests then. So update 73, which is Tavern Tales, which unfortunately Troy cannot be here, so I can't make the, oh, they named an update after you joke. But it was released on April 2nd, 2025. It was a little confusing because there's one free-to-play quest, and then there's 3 quests that were part of the Tavern Tales pack. So the free-to-play quest is Dinosaur Crisis. I'm sorry. But there are 3 others that are releasing in a tiered format. So some quests, and this is a very odd release because not only is it releasing in a tiered format, so the quests are coming out one at a time instead of all at once, but some of these quests are epic and heroic, and some of them are legendary and heroic. Some other notable things about the quests before we get to the individual ones. The loot includes Sun and Moon augments and gear with Sun and Moon augment slots, which was first introduced in Mr. Noir, so that kind of continues. We also saw the Rat Pack in Wayloon, Fall of the Night Brigade, that also had the same thing, had the Sun and Moon augments. So they're continuing that system from Mr. Noir. So any augments you get from there, you can slot into Mr. Noir gear or vice versa. So let's see. So the first quest, Dinosaur Crisis, this was the free one, and it featured a new monster, the Etten, which won a poll, I believe, in 2024. I think it was the Pax East poll for what new monster would you want to see. But it's a level 28 and 13 quest. And the quest description is: a horde of dinosaurs gather outside Stormreach. What's behind this sinister development? Venture into the jungle to find out and face the Etten, a brand new monster. And yeah, if you guys to run the quest, you need to speak to Regina in the harbor. So if you want to know where she is, she's where the Memoirs of the Illusionary Larcener NPC was. That's the quest they removed in a previous update. But have you guys run this one? What do you think of it?
Yeah, so I tried to run these quests yesterday because I hadn't done them yet, and they were on the docket to talk about today. But I kind of liked the Dino Crisis one, just running around killing a bunch of dinosaurs, big open area. Seemed decent to me. Yeah, nothing really compelling, new, and shiny besides dinosaurs.
Yeah,
Dinosaurs
it's
are fun.
pretty basic. Yeah, it's kind of like a
But
circle
also
arena
no real
area.
complaints.
Say that again.
I said it's nothing like groundbreaking, but also like no complaints.
Yeah,
Solid quest.
I always love when they put in a new monster, and this is my favorite so far of the ones. The last one is not out yet, but of the three that we've had in this pack so far, this is my. Or well, I keep forgetting it's not part of the pack; it's free, but it's just odd the way they did this. But anyways, it's my favorite of the new ones lately because of the Etten. It does look cool, although we'll say they still have some work they need to do in the Etten. The lower half of the Etten is not animating properly, but I noticed that. I'm not sure if they fixed that in a recent patch. Hopefully they do soon, but it does look pretty cool aesthetically, I will say.
Yeah, so Dino Crisis is actually a replacement for Memoirs.
Is
It's
it
the
okay?
same level range, 13 to 28. Um, and they always said that they were going to replace Memoirs, and so that was the quest that they chose to replace it with. I like the fact that we're gonna we're gonna continue to see the Sun and Moon augments in content going forward. I think that's pretty obvious now after Myth Drannor, and then after Fall of the Night Brigade, and this new set of quests. Um, the drop rate seems to be better, which is good compared to Myth Drannor. It gives people a way to get those augments that they might not necessarily be able to grab through Myth Drannor because just the stuff hasn't. The drop rates have gotten better, but they're still not great. So I like the fact that you can get augments in an easier fashion than having to go out and run a bunch of quests out in Myth Drannor, because some of those are long, right? And not necessarily conducive to being able to get the gear that you want. That was a big complaint for a while. Um, Dino Crisis is the only one that I've had the chance to run. I haven't had a chance to do the other two, but the format is interesting in terms of how they're releasing it. And the only thing I can think of is maybe it's a way for them to kind of slow drip content into the game, as opposed to here's one big drop and now there's nothing new for, say, 2 months, right? You get something a little bit new over time, as opposed to here's one thing and then once that shininess is worn off, here's another thing for you to do, right?
Yeah, it's
That's
probably
kind of
good
how
from.
I'm looking at it.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's probably good from a marketing perspective because every 2 weeks they can say, "Oh, look, there's something new and shiny. You need to go try." So it's a reason to relog back into the game, which is cool, and I get that. I would rather just have it all in one day personally because I think that makes that day even more special. Kind of like with expansions, I would rather them just hold off and just release it all, like the raids and everything, when it's all done, because I think that makes it makes for a really hype day that we can all look forward to. But I get where they're coming from on this. That's fine, even though I don't know. I would rather. It's not what I would want, but I understand their reasons. And it's not honestly. It's not a huge deal because you're gonna get the quests anyway. So it's whatever. I'm fine with it.
The other interesting thing was the fact that they're offering them a la carte.
Yeah, that's
Like you
true.
could just buy one of the quests if you just want one of the quests, as opposed to here's the entire adventure pack. You can get the entire adventure pack and it's a little bit cheaper than if you buy them individually. But if there's like, let's say you really don't like Dino Crisis and you're like, I really don't want to play that. And you just
Too bad.
decide,
It's free to
Well, that
play.
one's free to play, but I get what you're
right,
saying.
right,
Yeah.
right. But
No, I get your point.
yeah. So it's interesting that now they're offering quests on a, per quest cost basis, which
I
was an
yeah.
interesting change.
I think that's cool because I see two kind of portions of players might really like this. One, someone who might want one piece of gear from one quest, or two, a new player, because as you start as a new player, you may, as you accumulate points, it gives you something that you can buy soon, especially these. And that's probably one of the reasons they're doing it this way, because all of these quests have low level versions. There's one that's 3, one that's 4, one that's 5, so new players have something to spend those first 100 points, and they do have catacombs, which I think they offer for 75 points or something. But this is another thing that new players can spend their points on, and kind of probably it's probably good for them both from a getting people to use the store, but also it gives people free to play players something to buy. So that's cool. I think it's interesting. It's fine. I guess we can move on to the second quest. So Dinosaur Crisis was the free-to-play one. So the first paid one was Toil and Trouble. It released on April 16th. It is level 28 and level 5. The quest description is: strange things are happening in the King's Forest. Villagers blame a local hag, but it's up to you to discover the far more sinister truth. And to access this quest, you speak to Jara. She's an evening star near the King's Forest entrance. So this one is actually, as of the day I'm recording this, it's actually closed because there was a bug, but it was open initially and it was working fine when it released. I ran it right after it released and ran it a few times and it was fine. And then the other day I went in there and there's unfortunately some kind of bug that wouldn't allow completion. So they're correcting it. They temporarily closed it, but yeah, it's some pretty basic quest. It's in a forest. You find some mushrooms. You find a hag. You have a fight with a unicorn. It's okay. You all have any thoughts on this? I know, Nomad, you said you haven't run it. Were you able to run it trying? Probably not if you went to run it yesterday.
No, because I tried to run it yesterday and it's closed for being broken.
Yeah. It's about the same size as Dinosaur Crisis. It's okay. It's nothing like super special. These are probably, because these are low level quests, was another reason they kept these short and simple, because they're all short and simple.
Yeah,
But,
so actually, I'm gonna have to
head
take
out.
off for that
Yep.
conflict that I said I had around 1. So my last comment on the new quest is gonna be on the next one after Toil and Trouble, which is the
Yeah, sleeping.
Culvert.
Covered cobalt. Yeah, go ahead if you want to say something on
Um,
that.
did we really need more time in the sewers?
Dude, my thoughts exactly.
Like,
I
we've
know.
been in these sewers for 20 years,
I know.
which is why I like Dino Crisis more, because it's just like, all right, we're in the sewers, under the harbor or under the market again.
The one thing we need more of: low level sewer quests.
Yes, exactly.
I know.
But yes, so thank you for having me.
Yeah, and thanks for stopping by. Do
Unfortunately,
you
I
want to
won't.
plug your stuff? Tell
Oh,
people
yeah,
where
sure.
before
So,
you go.
as we said in the intro, I'm trying. I'm sure there'll be a shout out or a link somewhere,
Yeah, I'll
but
link it
it's
in the description.
excellent. I stream DDO Tuesdays and Thursdays around 8-ish Eastern Standard Time or Eastern Daylight Time, whichever one we're on now. And yeah, so thank you for the opportunity to come here and talk about some DDO stuff. And unfortunately, I have a scheduling conflict that was scheduled months ago. So thank you again, and good luck with the rest of the show.
No worries. Take care, man. Thanks for stopping by. Okay, so we have Toil and Trouble. Really, not a lot to say there. The next one that Trying was talking about, Covered Culvert. It's level 35, so going into a legendary quest now. This one's level 35 and heroic level 4. The description is, again, it's in the sewers. City workers have discovered a previously unexplored section in the sunken sewers. There's just one problem. The sewer is infested with swarms of deadly vermin, and it's up to you to sort things out. This one's in the marketplace next to the steam tunnels. The NPC is Burton First. It's there. If it's on the side next to the steam tunnels. They put the NPC right in the middle of the other two that are over there. But did you have a chance to run this? I think you said you hadn't, Nomad.
No, I did not get a chance to run it. And I don't know if I'm looking forward to it now, if it means I have to spend even more time in the sewers. Um, I mean, from what it sounds like it's another one of those, oh, hey, look, we have an infestation in the sewers and we have to go clear it out again. This time it's not kobolds, it's other vermin. But
Yeah, this one is. I ran it for the first time yesterday, and I ran it once just because I knew we were going to talk about it on the podcast. Yeah, it's not. It's a little bit different from the other one, so it's still pretty short and straightforward, and a lot of spiders, a lot of crawlers, carrion crawlers. But this one, I would say, I'm running an Inquisitive right now, and it does really well if you're a ranged or a caster, because there's actually in the middle room there's a lot of ramps. It kind of reminds me of what is it? Probably like Waterworks or one of those. But anyways, there's some ramps that lead up to the top, so you're kind of going a little more vertical in this one. But there's a lot of space between you and the enemies, and they can't really get to you. So it's really helpful on this one. I would say you do better if you're on a ranged or a caster for this one. But yeah, it's nothing too crazy. A fight with a red wizard at the end. Really simple storyline. It's fine. short content to run. It's easy to farm if you want some of the gear from it. But none of these quests are so far have wowed me. It's just kind of more content, which is okay, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know how accurate this is. So one of my guildies ran it, and he goes, "Have you done it yet?" I said, "No." And he said, "Okay, adventure from the Atari 2600. Run the quest and then tell me what you think." So he was comparing it to the old game Adventure from the
Mm,
Atari. Um, so I gotta run it and just to see, exactly what he's referring to.
yeah. And then the last one, which is not out yet, is releasing May 14th, called Sleeping with the Fishes. It's going to be level 35, legendary, level 3 heroic. The description of the quest is things are getting tense in the Stormreach fish market as local Swagan struggle with the Kobold Union for control. Bring order to the chaos in an adventure with multiple possible endings. Speak with Aramend in the lower harbor near where you arrive from Korthos Island to get started. So this one, I wonder what they mean by multiple possible endings. Maybe like what, like litany or something, where you can go kill a different boss. I'll be interested to see exactly what they mean here. That must be something like that, like different bosses. I don't know. I know this was on Lamania preview, so I'm sure maybe someone here could answer that question in chat. But I did not get a chance to run on Lamania. I have not run this one yet.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. All I want is additional fish weapon cosmetics. Um, so I
Yeah,
could beat people down with the fish.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, and I don't know multiple possible endings. They used to bill memoirs as kind of like a choose your own adventure type of thing, but it never really felt like choose your own adventure. You're just following the storyline. Um, if they can actually make a quest where your choices with the NPCs impact what occurs to you in the quest would be interesting. Kind of like Litany when you get to the end and you have to answer the dragon's questions, right?
hmm
Um, if you have something that pushes you a certain direction depending upon how you answer a question or interact with an NPC, it would be interesting.
yeah. I will definitely try it when it comes out. So, is there anything else you want to say on the new quests or the pack as a whole?
Colt said, "Give me a two-handed
Oh
fish."
yeah, yeah, from the Sawagan quest. Yeah, that would be awesome. We need more. We need two-handed versions of some of these silly cosmetics. I want a two-handed broccoli beater from what is it, from the anniversary event?
It would be great if we got a two-handed
Like a swordfish.
giant swordfish.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a swordfish would make sense. It's literally called a swordfish. Or give me a like a mask or a helm that makes me look like a Sawagan. That would be funny. How about a
I got
Sawagan?
nothing else.
Oh wait, next coffer, the Sawagan coffer, fish sword. You got Sawagan. You got a fish, an armor, and a helm that makes you look like a Sawagan, and you get like a green weapon aura. There you go, SSG. Free money. I just gave you the idea. You just take that and run with it. All right. All right. Well, let's move on. There's a couple things left to talk about. So, in the recent update, there wasn't a lot notable to say other than the quests. The one notable thing from the release notes I wanted to bring up was enemy pathing changes. So they made one change, pretty significant change. So this is what the release notes say. Adjustments have been made to the way enemies attempt to track characters under certain invisibility and stealth conditions, including when an enemy is in a blind state. These changes addressed a long-term performance issue that was increasing over time that could cause significant brain-dead behaviors and other enemy pathing problems. Enemies will now chase an echo of your location when blind or when you are invisible or decently sneaking away. Blind enemies will continue to have their standard 50% mischance. Ranged attackers will try to get closer to you, and turreted enemies will fire at your echo to reduce their effectiveness. So let's see. They said, note none of these changes impact the stealth experience for characters who are not seen in the first place. These changes only impact enemies who already hate you. So that means you have the aggro, but cannot see you very well for a variety of reasons. So essentially, to try to combat performance issues that I guess they found were stemming from from invisibility procs, I think was the main driver here. They're instead of the enemy can't see you, enemy now chases an echo of your location. So there's some concerns about that this would hurt stealth characters. And the main intention here was to improve performance and stop the brain dead. So a lot of people, if you've played lately, you've noticed that enemies, this started, I don't know when, maybe a year ago, enemies started just becoming brain dead. You'll just go into a room and they'll just stand there and let you beat on them. So it's trying to address that problem. I will say since this update going live, I've not seen, and Nomad, tell me if you've seen a difference, but I haven't seen, I've still seen brain dead enemies. And it's not like I mentally keep track of every time I see a brain dead enemies, but maybe it's happening less, but I still see it quite a lot. What's been your experience?
Yeah, I think I first noticed the brain dead enemies around Maybar. I think that's when I first really started noticing brain dead mobs. I haven't seen much difference. The one weird behavior that I've seen myself is um, mobs end up chasing my echo even if I'm not invisible. And I know that some other people, I know I've seen some clips where someone would be attacking something and then they would move, and then the thing that they were attacking that had been temporarily brain dead ended up moving to where they had previously been rather than to where they're at. Um, I mean, pathing has been an issue for a while now, and it's not just the NPCs; it's the hirelings go brain dead. You have issues with the hirelings, follow quests, things like Lost Thread, Arlos in Waterworks. We're running into all kinds of issues where stuff just goes brain dead. Um, I'm really hoping they can figure out what the underlying cause of all that is. Now, don't get me wrong, when you're doing like higher level Reaper stuff, if everything goes brain dead, quest becomes a whole lot easier to complete.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we really want to make sure that, we're getting at least some challenge. Um, but yeah, I haven't noticed a big difference, but again, I don't use many things that make me go invisible, and I don't use things that blind NPCs very often or blind mobs. So that aspect I haven't seen much. And yeah, I'm still seeing stuff go brain dead constantly.
Yeah, I do use a invisibility proc on my in-game gear set, and I'm not seeing, I really haven't seen any difference. So I don't know. It seems like they have more work to do. Guacamole in chat says hirelings seem to be getting more brain dead more often. At least I've noticed. My understanding was it doesn't affect hirelings, but I'm not sure. I thought it was just related to enemy mobs, not hirelings. But yeah, I'm seeing hirelings do sometimes get brain dead, but you never really know because sometimes with hirelings they could be crowd controlled. There could be a variety of reasons. Maybe they're getting attacked. They're failing concentration checks. There could be plenty of other reasons why they may not be like casting a spell when you ask them to, or may not be
I,
healing
I
you when they should.
yeah, I do know a couple people who have been trying to figure out why just on their own, not going through Standing Stone specifically, but there's one person who has found that when stuff goes brain dead and they have hirelings in their party, once they start dismissing the hirelings, the mobs seem to stop being brain dead. So I don't know if there's an underlying thing with hirelings in general that cause stuff to go brain dead, or stuff just goes brain dead on its own. Because I know for me, I don't always run with a hireling and stuff will still be brain dead. But to be able to replicate something, consistently where stuff's brain dead, I'm gonna ditch this hireling, and oh, hey, look, stuff is starting to activate. I don't know if you know. I haven't done it on Cormier. Don't know if there's a difference with the server tech or what, but that's just some of the stuff that I've heard about.
So what you're telling me is hirelings have a hold person aura. Is that what you're telling me?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
All right, that's funny. All right, let's see. All right, well, I think that's it. Unless there's anything else you want to say on that, move to the next thing. So the next thing was just a notable community thing that I wanted to mention. So Voodoo, who's a streamer and YouTuber, Voodoo Spice, there's this Twitch program where if you're a Twitch partner, you can apply to be on the Twitch front page for a day. And Voodoo applied for this and got it. And so he was on the front page of twitch.tv on April 30th. And as a result, he got more. It was just a big, not just for Voodoo, but for the game as a whole, it was a big day because the game got a lot of eyeballs on it. It was, he was getting over 2,000 viewers at one point. I think it capped, someone told me at 2,112, I believe, is where he capped out on viewers. But it was a big day for DDO, and it's got to be the record for DDO in terms of streamer viewership. So I just wanted to mention that and say congrats to Voodoo on his big day. And they also did a bunch of giveaways that day. Unfortunately, if anyone is listening to this, you will have missed it. But they did, he gave away, I believe, 8 expansion code giveaways on that stream for Ultimate Editions of a bunch for Ravenloft, actually, which was interesting because that has the Ball of the Mist that you can't buy anymore, and you can't actually buy the Ultimate of Ravenloft at this time. I know they want to address that going forward, but he gave away some of that, and I think other expansions as well. He gave out some for, I'm not sure if it was Vecna, Isle Dread, or what. I wasn't able to catch most of his stream. I was at work, so I wasn't able to catch most of his stream, but I know he gave out a bunch. And there was also a special store code promotion where if you entered all caps Voodoo Spice, you got the adventure, you got a free adventure pack, Keep on the Borderlands, a 3 res cakes, I believe it was 3 res cakes, some store healing potions, and a winter wolf pet. But unfortunately, that is no longer available. It was just a 1-day code. But yeah, congrats to Voodoo. And do you have any thoughts on that? Were you able to catch a stream at all, Nomad?
Believe it or not, I actually had it playing in the background at work.
Yeah, I do the same thing when I'm at work. I usually have either I'm listening to some kind of video game original soundtrack, or I have a streamer up. So often I'll have Voodoo up in the morning when I'm working.
Yeah. So, no, I thought so. I alluded to this earlier. This is how you market DDO to new players, right? Unfortunately, we only have a couple regular DDO streamers that are partnered with Twitch.
I think Strim Tom and Voodoo are probably it.
Yeah, I think Strim Tom and Voodoo are the only two.
For anyone, for anyone who doesn't know, you have to have to become a partner. You have to have. There's 3 requirements. One is a certain number of streams per month and hours per month. But the really hard one to get is you have to have 75 concurrent viewers over, I believe, a month, and you have to have streamed at least 12 times in that month. So it's really difficult. That's a lot of viewers. So it's I know only 2 have managed to get it for DDO, but that allows you to do a lot of cool things. Like you get more of a revenue share, but you also get to do special things like this. You can apply to be on the front page. I would totally apply if I could, but I cannot.
Yeah. But yeah, it's things like this that really put DDO out there. Because how often is a nearly 20-year-old niche MMO going to get featured on the front page of Twitch, right? And the fact that we're able, and it was 8 hours, sure, a little bit of that was downtime. So maybe next time don't do it on a Wednesday. But it couldn't have happened.
Fortunate it was on downtime.
Yeah. I'm 100% Voodoo puts in the time, the effort. His streams in terms of production are great. It well deserved because he puts in a lot of time and effort to cultivate his community and everything else. And believe it or not, there was actually some spillover effect from Voodoo's stream. Because I ended up streaming my usual stream on Wednesday night, and I actually had my highest average viewer count for any stream I've ever done. Because when Voodoo got done, I believe he rated Waisukai, and then Waisukai rated me. And so I actually averaged over about a 4.5-hour stream, about 30 viewers. So I think I was 29.3 was my average viewer count for that 4.5 hours that I streamed into, what would be East Coast morning time. So that type of when we have things like that, it has a spillover effect to other people as well, right? To promote the game.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm really excited that Voodoo got the opportunity. I'm really happy because massive 2,000 plus. I know I'm pretty sure is an all-time record.
I would
You know,
imagine.
and because I think he said previously his highest total he ever had concurrent viewers like 212, somewhere around there.
Yeah, and I know, let's say like Stream Tom when he was streaming, he would sometimes get like I think 500, 600 on like big release days, maybe a little bit more than that. But I don't think anyone's ever gotten 2,000 plus. Um,
Yeah, so it was a
yeah,
big deal. The fact that we got the promo code for Borderlands and things like that. So people who were watching the stream said, "Hey, this looks like a cool game. Maybe I'll check it out." Right? They get this. Here's some additional early level content for you. Here's some stuff to help you start out. I thought was a great promotional thing from Standing Stone. The fact that they rolled out some Ravenloft codes. I think he gave away what,
I think believe it was a yeah.
eight total Ravenloft codes, and then I believe it
I
was
don't
two
think I.
Isle of Dread
Oh, was it
and two
okay?
Myth. Yeah, I think it
I
was
thought it
two
was
Isle
eight
of Dread
total.
and
Oh wow.
no, I think it was eight Ravenloft, and then I think it was two Isle of Dread and two Myth,
Oh, nice.
somewhere around there. I mean, he might have done four Ravenloft. I don't know if it was eight total or if it was eight Ravenloft and then the
But in
others.
any case, it was a lot. It was a lot of
It was a
expansion.
lot, yeah.
Yeah. No,
And
SSG is
so,
really cool about supporting. I mean, obviously, it's great for them to get some new players and eyeballs on the game, but they're always willing if even if you have a small event, if anyone out here is listening and you want to run an event for DDO, usually if you just PM Cordovan, I would say a good chance they'll be willing to throw you at least some 100-point DDO codes or something to promote your event. They're pretty cool about
yeah,
that, and traditionally have been really helpful in supporting content creators.
yeah. I I echo that. So a couple years ago, when Maui had their wildfires, me and a couple other streamers did a charity live stream for the Maui Food Bank, and we got 500, a few 500 point codes, a bunch of 100 point codes, and some other cosmetic, pets and stuff to give away on that stream. So they're always willing to support anyone who puts on any type of event to promote DDO. And having Voodoo, you know, being the ambassador that he is for the game, I think that was a great opportunity for people to see what the game's about and see that, we still have a healthy community even, 20 years from the start of the game. So I was really excited to see how well that went.
Yeah, congrats to Voodoo, and I might reach out to him to see if he wants to do a future podcast. And he's been on this podcast once before, also. By the way, I think it was episode 5 or 6. It was one he did with Strim Tom and me and you. But anyways, if there's anyone in chat who has questions that they want us to answer, just any topic, go ahead and post them now because we're getting towards the end of the show. The last thing I want to mention is Standing Stone is having their annual community meetup at Pax East. So it is going to be on, let's see, I thought I wrote down the date. It's Friday, May 7th. Or I'm sorry, Friday, May 9th. It is at the Harpoon Brewery and Beer Hall at 306 Northern Avenue in Boston, Massachusetts from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you are in Boston or around that area, you might want to think about going to the meetup. They're a good time. I've never been to the Boston meetup, and I'm not planning to go to this one, but I have been to one of the meetups before that they did back in 2018 in Indy during Gen Con, and that was fun. So it's always a good time. So go check it out if you can. We're requiring our RSVPs, and I believe that window is closed now. So if you still want to go, I think they still have room. At least I heard Cordovan make comments like that. So you might want to reach out to Cordovan and see if they still have room if you are interested in going and didn't sign up. But no matter you going, I assume
I
not.
I w-
That's a long
I would
trek
love
from
to go.
Hawaii.
I would love to go. It was funny. One of the other DDO streamers was saying something that, sorry I can't make it, but they're in Europe, right? So I was curious about distance. So I checked the distance from London to Boston versus the distance from Honolulu to Boston. And I would actually have to fly about 2,000 miles further going from Hawaii to Boston than someone would be going from London to Boston. So uh, it's, I would love to go. It's just a long trek for a short event for me. But sometime in the future, hopefully.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's just and Boston's so darn expensive. I looked into it and it was just be, I'm looking at if I went to go there, flew there, went to Gen Con or not to Gen Con, went to Pax East for a few days and went to the meetup for, I'm looking at $1,500 basically. It's a lot of money. But if they ever do another one in Indy, I will definitely go. If they ever do another one in Indy for Gen Con, I might go to Gen Con possibly this year. Regardless, I'm thinking about it. But well, if there's anyone in chat, I know there was an ad playing. So if there's anyone in chat has a question, please post it now as we are right at the end of the show, and we'll answer whatever, even if it's not DDO related. Colt said, wasn't Cormier made the default server like a week before Voodoo's big day? I'm not sure. I'd have to look at the dates.
Day of,
Was it day of? Oh, okay.
yeah, because Wednesday, April 30th was the day that it went free to play, and that was the day that Voodoo did his stream. So, um, right after downtime, and he went live. Well, he was already live when downtime was going. But when servers came back up, he was still streaming, and so code was active, and people were able to go in. But yeah, but it would have forced, not forced. I'm not going to use the term forced. They were recommended to go to Cormier. So yeah, anyone new should have been going to Cormier for that.
Yeah. Well, and as we mentioned earlier, they did make the default, which is I imagine the default server is going to stay on. It's never going to go back to a 32-bit, so it's probably going to stay on Cormier. Maybe move to one of the other 64-bit servers as they open. But okay, I'm not seeing any other questions. I think from chat. Oh, Guacamole said I saw 2189 talking about Voodoo's count. Oh, okay. You're saying it got up to 2,189. Okay, because I had read from several people that the cap was 2112. But wow, 2189. That's a lot of people for a Twitch stream. That's just absolutely huge. And I think the stream overall, I wish I could remember. I looked at it like how many thousands of views it had in total for the VOD because that's just concurrent at one time, but it had many, many, many thousands of views, like over 100,000, I believe.
I know he had generally when he hits a level 5 hype train, he'll do an extra hour. He ended up streaming, I think, 15 hours total
Yeah, because
that day.
I actually came back from work, streamed for like 3 hours, and then rated him, and he had been streaming since like what 8 or 9 in the morning, something like that. So he'd probably
Yeah,
put in a very
yeah,
long stream for him, probably I would imagine a 14, 15 hour stream, something like that.
yeah. I think he ended up streaming till midnight. I think he had one extra bonus hour that he ended up pushing to the next day,
Yeah.
um, because he had to do all of his end of month stuff.
Yeah, I can tell you. I mean, as someone I've streamed that long before, I think the longest I've ever gone is 16 hours ish, 17 hours, and it is so tiring to do that. You need a day or two to recover fully after that. But
I,
okay.
I've done a couple 12s. Yeah, the Maui stream was 12 hours. Yeah, I've done a couple, and yeah, those are marathons.
Yeah, you burn more energy than you would think just sitting in a chair because you're not just playing a game for that long, but you're also multitasking for that whole time, looking at chat, and it'll wear you out. But okay, I don't see any other questions. So, is there anything else you want to talk about, Nomad, that we went through? Anything else you want to mention or add on to?
No, I'm anxiously awaiting the 64-bit servers. Because I am ready to start being able to join Broken Talons for raids at a
Yeah.
regular time, as opposed to, how can I on a Saturday it'd be great, right? Um, Rather than having to, move over or whatever, but having a healthy server population um, is something that I'm really looking forward to. Um, I think the only servers that have fewer regular players than Cannith is probably Wayfinder and maybe Galanda. Um, but for the most part, we're one of the lower populated servers. So being able to just group with more people, um, different place. The interesting thing about the different servers is the different play styles that have developed on each of the different servers, right? Because I know when I'm playing with you folks on Thelanis, you guys do things a little bit differently than how we would do it necessarily on Cannith. I know I've done raids on other servers, and just the order that people do the portals in the first part of Shroud is different. Um, I was running to different portals. I'm all by myself. I'm like, where is everybody? Oh, they're always on this. They're on this other portal because that's what they do. So it's always been interesting. That's why I've always enjoyed hardcore, um, because you get to group with people that you normally don't get to group with, and you get to see all these other different types of ways that people do things. You pick up tricks and tips, like, some stuff I'm like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. And then once you see it, it's like, okay, I'm gonna start doing that myself. So
Yeah, I mean that's the main thing I'm looking forward to too. Is just playing with other people. A lot of people I've, watch on Twitch or I've interacted with on either YouTube audience or just on Twitch or I've played with on hardcore maybe briefly. It's going to be awesome to get to play with everyone. I can't wait. It might be like the old days again where you log in and there's like three or four raid LFMs up at all times. We could be going back to that. So that is for me even more exciting than any server performance improvements.
3 instances of the harbor.
Yes, multiple instances of the harbor again. Awesome. Okay, well, I guess we'll close out the show then. And Nomad, do you want to go ahead and plug your stuff?
Yeah. So Nomad Dog, I stream at twitch.tv/Nomad Dog. Usually Wednesdays and Friday nights starting at 6:30 p.m. Hawaii time. That is 9:30 p.m. Pacific and 12:30 a.m. Eastern. That is until the time changes. So for all of you folks on the mainland who change your clocks, we don't here in Hawaii. So when we do these podcasts in the future, Axel, if you do them at noon, it'll be 7 a.m. instead of 6 a.m. for me. So that's fine.
Okay.
Um, but that's when we change the time again. Um, and then I also stream on DDO Stream on Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern, where we take a look at the updates to the game since it went free to play in 2009. We're currently on update 61, so we are doing Vecna Unleashed. We did part 1 and a few other quests last week, and we'll be continuing that this week. So hopefully we'll see you folks then.
Yep, you guys that are listening know where to find me, but do want to point out again, if you didn't hear from last episode, this podcast is now on Spotify as well as YouTube. This current one and all the old episodes. So if you prefer Spotify, you can now listen over there. There'll be a link to my link tree below for links to those things and everything else. But and the last thing I want to say is thank you to my two Patreon supporters, Brent Erickson and Brian Rasmussen, for your support. All right, guys, that is going to be it for this episode. We'll see you guys for the next one. Take care.